Day 4 of 30. Who's there when the music stops? Everyone loves the music. Pay attention to who stays when it stops. 30 days for the rest of your life. Day 4. Day 1 was gratitude. Notice what remains. Day 2 was connection. There are millions of us just like you. Day 3 was dogs. Sometimes the simplest evidence that you matter is another living creature waiting for you to come home. Day 4 is harder. Because today we're going to look around the room. Not at ourselves, at who is standing beside us. Success attracts people. Money attracts people. Status attracts people. Momentum attracts people. A full room attracts a fuller room. But eventually the music stops. It always does. The market turns, the business fails, the marriage breaks, the job disappears, the money gets tight, your health changes, you make a mistake, your reputation takes a hit, you stop being useful to somebody, the clouds roll in, and suddenly the room sounds different. That's when you discover something success could never teach you. Who was actually there? Not who said they were, who stayed. Actions, not words. Human beings are fascinated by words. I love you. I've got you. We're family. Call me anytime. I'm always here. Beautiful sentences. But words are promises about future behavior. Actions are the receipt. When the storm arrives, the receipt matters. Love isn't what somebody says while the sun is shining. Love is what remains when standing beside you becomes inconvenient. When it costs time. When it costs energy. When there's nothing to gain. When association with you isn't useful. When you aren't entertaining. When you can't return the favor. When the conversation isn't fun anymore. When you're standing in the rain. That's when language ends and truth begins. Who brought an umbrella? When it pours. We say, when it rains, it pours. True. Life has an interesting habit of stacking problems. One thing goes wrong, then another, then another. Suddenly you're looking upward, asking, seriously. And that's when the social architecture of your life becomes visible. Some people disappear at the first cloud. Some stand under the awning and tell you they're praying for you. Some text occasionally to ask whether the storm has passed. And a very small number walk directly into the rain. No speech, no performance. They just show up. Those are your people. Don't confuse this with demanding that everyone solve your problems. Nobody owes us unlimited access, endless rescue, or the destruction of their own life to repair ours. Real support has boundaries. But real support has something else too. Presence. Sometimes the person in your corner can't fix a damn thing. They just refuse to let you stand there alone. That matters. The enemy loves an empty room. We've been following the shadow through these first 4 days. First it says, look at everything you've lost. Then, nobody understands you. Then, you don't matter. And eventually, look around. Nobody's coming. This one is powerful because sometimes you actually do look around and the people are gone. Now the shadow has evidence. That's when the lie becomes a lie squared. Because two different truths get deliberately confused. Truth number 1, some people did not show up for you. Maybe that's absolutely true. Then the mind performs the trick. Therefore, you are not worth showing up for. Stop. Those statements are not equivalent. Someone else's inability to love you properly is not mathematical proof that you are unlovable. Someone else's absence is not a measurement of your worth. Someone abandoning the bridge during the storm tells you something about the bridge, not the destination. The glass bridge. Think of every important relationship in your life as a bridge. Some bridges look incredible. Beautiful architecture, perfect lighting, everybody taking pictures. From a distance, magnificent. But the question isn't how the bridge looks on a sunny afternoon. The question is, what happens when the weight hits it? Because that's what relationships are ultimately built to carry. Weight, grief, failure, fear, responsibility, truth, disagreement, forgiveness, change, the ugly parts of being human. A relationship built only on convenience is a glass bridge, beautiful when conditions are perfect, useful for getting from one side to another. But when the emergency comes, when everybody starts running at once, the glass breaks. Not necessarily because anybody is evil, because the foundation was never designed to carry the load. Maybe it was built on proximity, maybe status, maybe money, maybe attraction, maybe entertainment, maybe mutual usefulness, maybe loneliness. Maybe two people needed something from each other and mistook the transaction for love. Then the weight arrives. Crack. And suddenly you're falling through something you thought was solid. That's why the storm hurts twice. First you endure the storm, then you discover the shelter wasn't real. What is the foundation? If glass breaks, what doesn't? Not perfection. No relationship is perfect, not constant agreement. People who truly love you can disagree with you, not endless availability. People have families, responsibilities, limits, and their own battles. The foundation is something simpler. Love expressed through loyalty, truth, and action. Sometimes love says, I'm here. Sometimes love says, you're wrong. Sometimes love says, I'm not helping you continue doing this to yourself. Sometimes love drives 3 hours without being asked. Sometimes love sits quietly. Sometimes love tells you the truth everyone else is afraid to say. Real love isn't always comfortable, but it doesn't become imaginary the moment conditions change. That's concrete. That's steel. That's what carries weight. It takes a village. We turned independence into a religion. I don't need anybody. Sounds strong. Usually isn't. Human beings are tribal creatures. We survived because we formed groups, families, teams, villages, units, communities. Someone watched the fire while somebody slept. Someone hunted while someone protected the children. Someone carried the wounded. Someone knew the terrain. Someone saw the danger you couldn't see. The individual mattered, but the individual survived through the group. Modern life changed the scenery. It didn't rewrite the operating system. It still takes a village. Not 1,000 followers, not 400 contacts, not everybody who knows your name. A village. The people who answer. The people who tell you the truth. The people who celebrate without envy. The people who can watch you struggle without secretly enjoying it. The people who don't need you weak so they can feel strong. The people who want you to become everything you're capable of becoming, even if that version of you no longer needs them in the same way. Find those people. Then become one of them. You become the room. There is another reason your circle matters. Spend enough time around anything and you begin adapting to it. Language, habits, expectations, standards, beliefs, risk tolerance, work ethic, integrity, cynicism, courage, all of it spreads. If everybody around you lies, eventually small lies stop feeling unusual. If everybody complains, complaining begins sounding like analysis. If everybody quits, quitting becomes reasonable. If everyone blames somebody else, accountability starts looking foolish, but the reverse is also true. Surround yourself with people who train, and movement becomes normal. People who build, and creation becomes normal. People who keep their word, and integrity becomes normal. People who tell the truth, and bullshit becomes uncomfortable. People who get knocked down and stand back up, and resilience becomes the expected response. You don't merely choose your friends. You choose your mirrors. And if you stare into the same mirrors long enough, eventually you begin believing what they reflect. Choose carefully. Morpheus didn't free Neo. Morpheus showed Neo the door. Neo still had to walk through it. That's what real people in your corner do. They don't live your life for you. They don't carry you forever. They don't validate every decision. They don't rescue you from every consequence. They remind you who you are when you temporarily forget. There's a difference between support and dependency. A good village doesn't make you weaker so you'll stay. A good village makes you stronger so you can stand. Morpheus believed in Neo before Neo believed in himself. But eventually Neo had to believe. That's the bridge. Someone else's faith in you can carry you temporarily across the gap between I can't and maybe I can. But eventually your own feet have to touch the ground. Who is in your corner? This question becomes critically important when the shadow tells you you're worthless, because in that moment you may not be a reliable witness to your own value. Your internal signal is distorted. That's when your corner matters. You need someone who can look at you when you're saying, I'm done, and answer, no, you're tired. Those are different things. Someone who can hear, I lost, and answer, then learn. Someone who can hear, everybody left, and answer, I'm standing right here. Not empty positivity, not bullshit. Truth. Sometimes we borrow another person's belief in us until our own returns. That's what a corner is for. A fighter walks into the ring alone. But between rounds, he returns to the corner. Water. Instructions. Perspective. Someone wipes the blood away. Someone tells him what he can't see. Then the bell rings. He stands back up and goes again. That's life. Look both directions. Here is where this philosophy becomes uncomfortable. It's easy to read an article about support and immediately make a list of everybody who failed you. Don't. Not yet. Ask another question first. Whose corner am I in? When their music stopped, did I stay? When their clouds came, did I answer? When they weren't useful to me, did I still care? When they made a mistake, did I help them recover or use it to feel superior? When they were difficult to love, did I confuse difficulty with disposability? When they needed truth, did I tell them? We cannot demand steel bridges while offering everyone else glass. If you want a village, become the kind of person a village can be built around. If you want loyalty, practice loyalty. If you want honesty, tell the truth. If you want people to answer when it matters, answer when you can. If you want people to celebrate your victories, learn to celebrate theirs without comparison. Become what you're looking for. That's how communities begin. Some bridges are supposed to break. Not everyone who enters your life is supposed to remain there forever. Some relationships belong to a chapter. Some teach you. Some challenge you. Some expose wounds you still need to heal. Some reveal boundaries you should have had years ago. Some people cross the bridge with you only part of the way. That doesn't make every memory false. It doesn't mean there was never love. But it may mean the structure cannot carry where you're going next. And when that becomes clear, don't spend the rest of your life standing beside shattered glass asking why it wasn't steel. Learn. Forgive where you can. Take responsibility for your part. Then build differently. The goal isn't to become suspicious of everybody. That's the shadow's next trick. See? Never trust anyone again. Wrong lesson. The lesson isn't, Never cross another bridge. The lesson is, learn how bridges are built. When the music stops. Eventually everyone's music stops. The applause ends. The uniform comes off. The title changes. The children grow up. The money fluctuates. The body ages. The crowd moves to the next thing. Eventually you find yourself somewhere quiet. No performance, no audience, no algorithm, no status. Then you look around. Who's there? Maybe only a handful. Good. You don't need an arena. You need a corner. One person who tells the truth. One person who answers. One person who doesn't measure your worth by what you can provide today. One person who reminds you that the storm is weather, not identity. And then you need to be that person for somebody else. That's the village. Not perfect people. Not permanent sunshine. People willing to stand together when it pours. Day 4, the message. Today, look at your circle. Not angrily, not transactionally. Clearly. Who makes you better? Who tells you the truth? Who celebrates when you win? Who stays present when you lose? Who makes your values stronger? Who makes your excuses louder? Who would you call when the music stops? And perhaps more importantly, who would call you? Those names matter. Protect those relationships. Feed them. Show up. Say thank you. Forgive imperfections. Tell the truth. Build the bridge before the emergency. Because you do not reinforce a bridge while everybody is running across it. You build the foundation during ordinary days. Coffee, phone calls, checking in, keeping promises, showing up when there's nothing exciting happening. Small deposits of trust, day after day, until one day the clouds come. And they will. The rain starts, the music stops, the crowd disappears. The shadow leans close and whispers, "See, nobody is coming. You were never worth it." Then you hear footsteps. Maybe one set, maybe two, maybe 5. Enough. Someone walks into the rain and no speech, no grand declaration. They stand beside you. And suddenly the shadow has a problem. Evidence. The lie cannot survive reality. You matter. You are loved. You are not alone. And the bridge held. Not because it was beautiful. Because long before the emergency, somebody quietly built the foundation out of something stronger than glass. Love. 30 days for the rest of your life. Day 1, gratitude. Notice what remains. Day 2, just like you, notice who remains. Day 3, dogs. Notice who needs you. Day 4, who's there when the music stops. Notice who stands in the rain. The crowd is not your village. Words are not actions. Proximity is not loyalty. History is not necessarily love. And being abandoned by someone does not prove you were unworthy of being stayed for. That's the lie squared. Build your village. Choose your mirrors. Strengthen your bridges. Become somebody else's corner. And when the clouds come for someone you love, don't send them a speech about the weather. Walk into the rain. When the music stops, be one of the people still standing there. ICT, the real war is within. Ideas are bulletproof.